Hello, and welcome to Turtleneck Tabletalk, the podcast that seeks insightful conversation while promoting the growth of our community. I'm your host, Devin Roberts, and it's my co-host, Austin Rimple. And today we are super stoked because we're going to leave no holds barred as we have today's guest.
That's right, and I'm have the pleasure of introducing in the opposite chair. He is holding an amateur MMA 3-fight win streak, standing 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing 135 pounds, fighting out of Wichita, Kansas.
That's pretty good.
I'm not done. Presenting the one, the only TURTLENECK the Hero Burns.
I like that.
Thank you for coming on, Tyrell. I appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you for having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate
dude.
it.
Yeah, I knew as soon as we decided on having like an athlete side of our podcast, I'm like, I got to get Tyrell because I see what he's doing, what he's promoting. And super interested to hear your journey about that today. Mm-hmm. So I think a question that I'd like to start off with now is what's kind of a story of how you got started? So what's a story that sticks in your mind when you got started with this?
I think one of the main stories that kind of sticks in my mind is like in high school, I didn't really like other sports. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really drawn to them. I didn't really feel a connection with them, like basketball or football or what have you, all the other sports that happened in high school. So I started with Taekwondo outside of high school. It was Kim's Academy of Taekwondo here in Wichita. And I started there. I did Taekwondo for about 2 years, about a year and a half. And then I kind of realized if I wanted to take martial arts seriously, because I was actually like really enjoying it at the time, like learning all about how to fight and how to use the different kinds of like kicks that we do. Because the Taekwondo is mainly about kicks. You don't really throw many punches. So I knew if I wanted to take it kind of serious, then I needed to learn how to throw a punch. I need to learn how to do other kinds of styles. Because Taekwondo is just like kicking, all the spinning stuff. Like it's mainly just for show, kind of. Really? I mean, not to diss on any Taekwondo practitioners out there, but it's mainly for show. And some of the kicks are still like I still use them, but like I don't use them as much because they're just flashy. And so then from there, after high school, I went to Valor Martial Arts, and that's where I kind of started doing kickboxing and really just like exploring different kinds of martial arts. I started doing boxing and jiu-jitsu there. And one story that really helped me like change, I had to change gyms from Valor because it just didn't fit me. And it was one day this guy, he had came in, he was a boxer, he's from Texas. He came into the gym and he was a boxer. He came into our boxing class, but I knew like he like was different than anybody else that came in just from like looking at him. And so we were sparring that day and we started sparring and I could tell like, you know, he was good. And he didn't spar with us. He was on the bag watching us spar, but he came up to me after the class and told me like, hey, like, you know, I can see that you have like potential and stuff like that. And he was like, let's work on some stuff. So I stayed like a couple hours after practice and we worked on some stuff. He showed me different like techniques like boxing because he was a boxer and showed me all of these different like techniques and showed me what I was doing wrong with like my jab and like my cross and stuff of that nature. And then after that, we started sparring, and like this guy was like lighting me up. Like he was doing like really like I was like, dude, this guy is like crazy. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, this guy has to have been doing it for a long time. And he told me like afterwards, he was like, I've only been doing it for like 3 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was only doing it, and I was doing it for like 4 months. So I was like, dude, like I was like, dude,
on you, what's going on?
I almost went home just like crying almost, and I was just like, dude, like this is crazy. Like I'm not getting any better. Like And then he kind of told me like. He was in that same boat a little bit when he first started, but you have to look at not only yourself, but the people that are coaching you and the people that you have around you. So that's really what got my gears turning into changing different gyms to see if I'll be able to like unleash my potential in different gyms with other coaches. Because the coaches there, they're all good, but they just didn't fit me. Yeah. And so then once I took that into consideration, I think the next day I signed up at a different gym.
Oh, wow.
Because I really took that into consideration. And I was like, it might not just be me. It might be just what I'm surrounded with.
Yeah. And so from there, you joined 316 Martial Arts?
No, I joined JMTK, which is another fight gym. It's not around anymore. It's out of Genesis Martial Arts on 13th
The
And-
west, the
yeah,
west
on the west side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I trained there for about 2 years. Yeah, I trained there for about 2 years, and everybody was really great. Like Andy Zerger, he's the striking coach there. He's one of the best in the Midwest. He taught me almost everything I know about striking to this day, all the concepts and everything that I use. And then also Nick Barron's up there, teaches the jiu-jitsu program. And so I was able to really, my level kind of just went up because a lot of the people at JMTK were fighters. It was more of a fight oriented gym. So I was able to get those kind of looks and realize like, okay, if I want to be a fighter, like I got to be able to take these hits from these guys that are way bigger than me, way stronger than me, or way more experienced than me. And it was a lot of rough days. Like there's days where you're like the hammer, and then like there's days where you're like the nail, and like a lot of those days
really
I was the
tough
nail.
to train for.
A lot of those days I was the nail, and so
Wow.
yeah, but it helped me a lot. And so while I was at JMTK, I did about 2 smoker fights, or 3 smoker fights. And so smoker fights are basically fights that don't go on a record. They're mainly just for experience and kind of exposure into the sport. So to do like a smoker fight, you know, obviously your coach has to think that you're ready and stuff of that nature. And then they find you the pairing that day, like the day of the fight. Yeah, you don't know like who you're fighting. You all go there, and then
Some guy from Russia shows up. And you come in, he's like, Vlad.
Oh man, I would be very, very upset. But they really pair you off of your weight, and then they pair you off of your experience. So if a guy from Russia did come, hopefully I don't think I'd be paired with him if he had a lot of experience. But
Gotcha.
So that day we would find who we were fighting, and so I've had about 3 smoker fights, and they really did help me conquer the nerves that you get before a fight. Like when you're like waiting for them to call your name, and you're like waiting for them to have you step into the ring. It's like a whole adrenaline dump before you even step in there, and you're just like, sometimes you walk in there and you're like tired already, and you haven't done anything. Like you did like the little warm up before the fight, but like you're still tired from just like the anticipation. But once you're in there, it's kind of like there's no going back now. Like I have to do this, or if I walk out of the cage, I'm never going to be able to show my face. You know?
That's true. Yeah. And I think that mental aspect is something so underrated. Like when we're developing in youth sports, but you have to train for that. And there's so much else you have to train for.
Yeah, because normally with a fight, you know who you're fighting against. You can watch footage. You know about their arm span, like different things like that. But when you're just thrown into it, like, and you have no clue about who you're going against, it really, that's like a great way to like conquer your nerves and everything like that.
Yeah.
I would think, you know?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. It definitely helped me when I moved into the amateur scene. But so after I did a couple of those smoker fights, I was starting to really hone in on like my striking, because I had the Taekwondo background, but I was also starting to now implement the boxing and the kickboxing, and really just kind of figure out what my game like was. Like I didn't have a clear, like, and I still don't have a clear, I'm still like an amateur. I don't have like a clear thing, but I have things that I like to do, and I have things
And we
that I
can't
don't.
give any of that away.
Yeah.
On there,
No.
We can't give
Top
away.
secret, top secret.
No, for sure.
But so after about 2 years at JMTK, I had left the gym. A lot of the fighters from JMTK started going to 316 martial arts. And at that time, there was only a few amateurs, a few pros, and most of them were going to 316. And so it was either I stay at JMTK, and you know the people there are either new, and like they're new and they're like learning and getting better, or they're not there to fight. They're there to like for cardio, or they're there for fitness and stuff of that nature. So it's either like stay at JMTK, or I'm going to go with my teammates that are going over to 316, because 316 is even more of a fight gym than JMTK was at the time. And so I was like, I made the decision to move over to 316, and apparently they already wanted me over there. They wanted me and like Terrell and all my teammates over there, but they didn't want to be the gym that like poaches people and pulls people in. So they never said anything about it until I actually got there.
Yeah, going back to like the decision when you made the switch to the gyms because you wanted to pursue fighting.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you know, just understanding technique and fitness and whatnot.
Yeah.
What was that decision like for you?
Yeah, like what was like that light switch that like clicked from like, okay, this is fun and I'm doing pretty well, but I want to take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think it was mainly after one of my smoker fights, and my coach really like, he told me like he put me against somebody that had more experience boxing. Like he had about 3 years of boxing experience, but only maybe like, you know, maybe like half a year kickboxing. and he put me against that guy in the smoker fight, and then, like, my coach was telling me I did like really good, like, and exceeded his expectations. And I always kind of had like a knack like for like fighting. It's kind of just like math and like not math, but it's like timing, like the way that things like the way that things come in, and like it's all about like how you can like fit in your patterns to where someone like else's patterns are coming in, and like if they're coming in with a multiple strikes, like figuring out where you can fit in, like I don't know, it's kind of like something that always like makes my like fascinates me, and like I was getting really good at it, especially at JMTK. I was starting to like I was saying earlier, I was starting to figure out what I'm good at, like what I'm doing good at. I'm like, man, like I'm feeling like pretty confident that I can really make myself something out of this like fighting, because I know like I can take a shot. I know I can give a shot. All I need is just a chance, like an opportunity, and I need a place to hone my skills. I don't want to be at a place where I'm the top dog and like I'm the dude that's, you know, everybody's like if I stayed at JMTK, I would have been one of those people where I would have been like a little higher up, because the people would have been either newer or, you know, they, like I said, they were like for fitness, and I didn't want to stay there and be that like top dog, like, oh yeah, like, you know, I wanted to be like a little dog. I wanted to be like, you know, I wanted to be a place where people were challenging me like consistently, like every single day. And to this day, that's what 316 has been for me. It's a constant challenge every single day. Like I was showing you earlier, the video of me and AD sparring, like I get beat up every day, every day. Like I don't want to be, if I'm in a place where I'm like feeling complacent and I'm like, okay, I can coast today, then I know that I'm probably not in the right place. And that's how I was feeling at JMTK. So that's kind of what made me like figure out that I need to move to 316.
That's awesome. You got the environment there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people know the MMA culture is really here in Wichita yet, but you guys have that, and it's growing, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
So how are you guys like trying to take steps in like social media too to like grow that? I kind of switched from like training to social media. I still want to touch on training, sure. But I think it is cool to see like how 316 is bringing everyone up through social media and promotion.
Yeah, for sure.
I see that a lot from you guys.
Yeah, so a lot of us at 316 we kind of stay on top of like promoting and being good on social media, because I feel like we all feel like that's something that is kind of MMA is kind of stuck in the past, where like, you know, you put your head down, you grind, you don't have to post on social media, do it in silence. But we're at a kind of like turning point in the world where everything is on social media, and a lot of opportunities on social media, and you're giving up a lot of those opportunities on social media just so you can work in silence. Like, it doesn't make much sense, like, to not be able to capitalize off of those opportunities. So 316 does a good job of pushing us to, like, you know, do a good job on ourselves of promoting, because a lot of times they don't like tell us like, oh, like post this stuff like that. They're just like, you guys need to be active on social media. You guys need to be making a name for yourself and like creating something other than like that you can incorporate or that you can connect to your fight like game, not just the hero. As you guys see, I wore my hero shirt. And, you know, I take that to heart, especially when I heard that. So I came up with my logo. I made this logo myself.
That's pretty sweet,
and
man.
Thank you. And you know, I really was very adamant about doing that after they pushed us. Like, you know, you guys need to be pushed on social media. You always know Cyborg does that a lot. He's very prominent on social media. Prominent? Yeah. But social media, it was kind of weird at first, because I'm not a very talkative person. So like talking to a camera, I'm like, at first I was like a little bit like, my videos were a little like off, but it's just the fact that I was doing them, like the fact that I was still posting them, even though like I just started. It really just helped me continue to get more comfortable and continue to post better and do better content, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, anything.
Podcasting.
Podcasting.
Look at you now, man.
This is awesome.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's cool to see your journey as well, going through that and getting so much better at it, posting fight week vlogs and doing that. But now I'm going to go back to training because I wanted to know like the things you've gotten better at within MMA, because there's not just taekwondo, not just kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. How's that been improving for you?
Yeah. So after I left JMTK and went to 316, I classify myself as a striker. I'm more of a striker. I had literally like almost no ground game. What was it? Actually last year, 2022, I did I did 3 jiu-jitsu tournaments at the AGF, American Grappling Federation. They host tournaments here in Wichita, usually at the South Y at that Farhouse Sports Center. And I got starched all 3 times. Like I had no, like I got like submitted in the first, the first match. And usually in those, like if you get not disqualified, but if you lose the first match, like you're done for the day. So like, you know, my friends and like my girlfriend come out, and then I lose the first match, and then I'm like, you guys can go home now. And then you know, I drove up to Topeka, and we did. I have a video on my YouTube about that as well, where like I lost up there too. I didn't get submitted, but I still like, you know, spent 2.5 hours driving up to Topeka. But it was really just getting that experience, like getting that exposure. I was like, I know I'm not good at this, so I'm going to go and compete in this. But really, what changed was going to 3-on-6, and my grappling coach, Cody Bittler, he just elevated my game like tremendously. Like he was a wrestler all his life, and so he kind of instilled a lot of the wrestling values and just like the way that he grapples into like me and like the way that I grapple now. And so really just learning about wrestling and learning about jiu-jitsu and breaking it down into a way where I know that I can understand it, because he breaks it down in a way that a striker would understand it, because he knows that. And then like when wrestlers come in, he breaks it down from a wrestler's perspective, because he's a wrestler. So the way that he breaks it down helped me when I first got to 3-on-6. So I got really good at wrestling. I've started getting pretty good at wrestling and pretty good at grappling. And then I did a AGF this year, and I won gold. And I went against I went against like 6 people. And you know, it was mainly just that switch. And so that's what I've been improving on more recently, is in my grappling. And obviously in my fights, I've submitted all 3 of my opponents. And the crazy thing is like when I'm training, I don't submit anybody in training. Like I never submit anybody like at all. Like maybe like one time throughout the whole week if I'm lucky, you know. But I don't submit people in training. I don't know how I keep submitting people in the fights, but in training,
because
like,
it's been like the same choke out
it's
every
the same,
time.
And I don't know how. I really don't know, because it's like I don't submit people in training. I usually go for like positions and like holding down a position and making sure that I'm like staying dominant in that position, because a lot of times people will get overexcited and like they'll get a position and they'll try to go for a submission, and then they'll get flipped over or like submitted. And like a lot of times coaches say, you know, position over submission. So like you want a better position, like over trying to go for a submission and then getting like rolled over. So I try to make sure that I keep my, you know, weight dispersed. I try to make sure that they can't go anywhere until I want them to go somewhere. And that's another thing that has really been helping me in my game as elevator is we just added on a coach, Chris Harris. He's another big name in the Wichita MMA scene. And so he's been helping me elevate my grappling a lot. Like the way that he explains things really clicks with my brain, because like everything that he like says, I understand, because he explains things in probability and percentages, and he teaches fundamentals, not like moves. He teaches like fundamentals that can apply across the board. Like if it works on the ground, it'll work on the wall. Like those type of fundamentals where I'm able to like, he'll teach me the fundamental through a certain move, but I'm able to apply that in other moves. So like, just Monday, we were working on getting out of. I'll give away a little bit of free game for you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
We were working on getting out of a rear naked choke and using different like head pressure and stuff of that nature to get the choke out.
You can't.
No, you cannot. You definitely cannot. Would you do that?
I mean, it depends on the scenario. Depends on the scenario.
I feel like you would.
I feel like there's a possibility I would use all options.
Yeah, definitely in a street fight for sure. But we were working on that, and so then I was getting put in like later on that day when I went to my third training. Like I was getting put in different kinds of like chokes, not the same choke that he showed us that morning, but I used that fundamental that he like showed us to get out of those same chokes. Even though he didn't show us how to get out of those specific chokes, he showed us how to get out of that one choke. I used that same fundamental like principle and got out. And so I think that him, like just 3-on-6 in general, has really upped my grappling game a lot, and my striking game. Of course, we have David Rickles, like, you know, we have one of the best strikers in the Midwest. And then I also have like teammates like Zoe, Carter, and AD, the Cyborg, Terrell, like all these people like help me up my game. But really my grappling has really just kind of taken off.
That's cool to see in a match too, with how Is it a lights off, like the switch just goes off and you're just automatic from that point and you just end up choking people out? Oh shoot, I won. Is that what it is for you?
No, not for me.
Are you pretty technical when you're in there?
Like for one of my like first fights, my first fight with 3-6. So the EFC card that was here in Wichita, like when I got in the cage, it was kind of like that where like I didn't know that I was in there, but I was in there, and then like I was like punching the dude, and then like I saw like his eyelid was like flipped. I was like, man, like this is crazy. And then like when he put his head there and I got the choke, and then I was like, oh shoot, like yeah, I won, And I was like, oh man. But then like for this most recent fight that I just had, like I was in like the zone. I was the most comfortable I've ever been, and I think that's mainly because we had a lot of teammates there, but also I had my coaches there. I felt confident. I felt good in the training I was having with Chris Harris, with Cody, with David. Like I felt pretty like confident, and I was able to like just kind of be relaxed. And so I was actually in the moment in that fight where like I knew I was like in there, and I was aware of everything that was going on. I was using all of the concepts and everything that I had learned, and like going into like the match is like it's really different depending on how like you're feeling. So I definitely felt the best. Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder now, since you mentioned like how he explained it to you in like probability terms, if you're like in the cage like Sherlock Holmes and you see like equations like being brought to you, you like slap him in the is it anything like that for you? Or
no, not really. Like I know I said before that like I like that kind of side of things, but like in the fight I'm really listening like to my coaches. It's kind of weird because like in the cage you can hear like everybody cage side, you can hear what they're saying, so I could hear my coaches clear. And in my last fight, like I was hearing my coaches, but I was also like hearing them in my head from like all the time I train with them. Like I can hear like their voices in my head, like what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like you like get up, like and telling me like because of how many times I've been in these positions while we're training, I remember what they tell me, and either they're telling me that in the cage or they're telling me that in my head. Like there's no escaping it. Like they're telling me that either way. And so especially in my last fight, Cody wasn't able to be in my corner, but I could hear him. He was up like two stands like up in the stadium, and I could hear him because I had got the guy in the guillotine, and he was telling me like raise my elbow up, and I could hear him screaming that like, and it was crazy. It's just like a different kind of like focus, like where I'm focused on the person in front of me, but I'm also focused on listening to my coaches and being able to hear them. Like, and so the best way like my coach is like Cody, he describes it as like basically they're the general, we're the soldier. Yeah. So they have the controller, and we're just going like they're playing, and like we listen. And I think that I can attribute a lot of that to the success I've been having in the cage is just listening to my coaches. So I don't see numbers, but I definitely can. I can definitely hear them because Cody's always calling out like 1, 2, like 1 body, 2 body, stuff of that nature. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Now I'll think of that now. It's cool. I think you just triggered another movie in my head when you said that, because like the Real Steel movie.
Oh yeah. That's more like how. That's more how. That's
for sure, dude. No, that's super awesome. But did you
like what is for people who don't know, like what's a typical week of like training like for you? Like how often are you training? How many hours? Like what all goes into it?
So for me, like this summer, obviously I was able to train a lot more, but my training schedule now is kind of similar, but I obviously have to take off a couple of days or a couple of training sessions because I have homework to do, I have classes that like don't line up. So usually I'll start my week off Mondays. It will be 6 a.m. or 6:30 MMA with Chris Harris. And so really in that class, we go over technique, we go over basics, like MMA basics, because a lot, like I didn't know, like especially when I started, Chris Harris didn't start coming in until like around after my second fight, or before, a little bit before my second fight, I guess third fight. And like I really didn't know anything MMA wise, because I know jiu-jitsu, I knew a little bit about jiu-jitsu, I know a little bit about wrestling, but MMA is really that pathway that kind of connects them all together. Right. And if you don't have that kind of connection, it's just it won't flow as fluid as it could. Yeah. And so in those MMA classes, it's really like, we go over technique, we go over different ways to get out of certain positions, stuff of that nature. And then Mondays, I'll usually have my class and I'll have work. And then later on in the night, I'll go back to training 6:30 to 7:30 jiu-jitsu, no gi. I don't really do like the gi jiu-jitsu with like the belt, and like I usually go like the no gi because that's more like practical for the MMA side. But gi jiu-jitsu is good if anybody is going to do gi jiu-jitsu. Still
I
do
thought
gi
we were about to
jiu-jitsu.
crap on it.
Still do gi jiu-jitsu because gi jiu-jitsu is good, especially because it helps advance you a lot, like quicker, a lot more, because you have a lot of the additional grips that you can use. You have a lot of different kinds of positions that you can get in with the gi that you can't without the gi. But me, sometimes I don't have as much time for the gi, and two, if I have to make a decision between the two, I pick no gi.
Okay.
For me.
For me, I stay free of the gi.
Yeah, for me, I like that. I stay free of the gi.
Stay free of the gi. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, no. But that's a crucial part of training, definitely. For
and then Tuesdays, I usually do in the summer it was 6 a.m. strength training, but now that's switched over to later on in the evening. So at 6 a.m. I'll go to the Y on campus. I'll walk over there and I'll just do more technique. I'll do a lot of just like, making sure that my jab is on point, making sure that my cross is on point. I'm not flaring my elbows. I'm not doing things I'm not supposed to. And a lot of the times I'll work the technique that we were working on Monday in the morning, or sometimes after class, Chris Harris will show me different things that I can work on. And so I'll go and I'll work on that Tuesday in the morning. So kind of like just low, like nothing that super intense, is mainly just working on technique. That's one thing I learned from my coach, Cody, is like, he always tells us like, you don't have to train balls to the wall every single like training session, because then you're going to destroy your body, and then you're not going to last long in this game if you're trying to go hard all the time.
Yeah.
And so really just doing that technique every day, every morning. I do that every Tuesday. So I'll go to the Y and I'll do some technique, work on the bag a little bit, and then have work, have school. And then later on in the night, I'll have from 3:45 to like 4:45, I'll have strength training out at Fort Knox with Jordan Knox, Untamed Athletes. They do a lot of the strength and conditioning for me, and I'm able to go there and get a lot of good work in.
That's awesome.
I was introduced to them by Caveman, because Caveman worked with them a lot, and so I was able to get on that boat and be able to strength train with someone that has strength trained Caveman for a lot of his career. So he knows what to look for in strength training MMA athletes and stuff in that nature. So, and it also lifts a big weight off my shoulder, because like when I was at James K, trying to do classes and then figure out how to do strength training, how to do weights. Yeah, I bet you guys feel the same with like rugby, like doing rugby practice, and then unless you guys have a weight.
He's a personal trainer. So
okay.
He understands it. Yeah. I do feel that way though sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm like looking up like YouTube videos on like, different things to do for my sport, and it's just kind of hard to try to compile that and figure out what is going to work the best for me. So having Jordan there to do that for me, it helps tremendously. So I do that from about 3:45 to 4:45, and before, we usually hold pads for some of his kids that come through, and like we'll hold pads for them, and they'll hit the pads. That'll be like our warm up, and then we'll go into our strength training, and then after that I'll go to 3-on-6 from 5:30 until 7:30, and it's either I'm helping with kids class or I'll do some of the cardio kickboxing class. And I really underestimated cardio kickboxing classes. Like I was like, I kind of walked around with a chip on my shoulder. I was like, I'm a fighter. Like, I don't need no cardio kickboxing. Like what? Like come on now. And then like I went to one, I was like, God, I was like, dang. And then like just like the soccer mom, she's like looking at me and like doing it, and I'm like on the ground.
You okay there,
Tyro? I'm like, yeah. So I try to make that a more normal part of my routine. So I do that about 2 times a week. Either if they need help with kids classes, I'll help teach the kids class. Yeah, the cardio kickboxing. Ooh, yeah, it's rough. And then or I'll do the cardio kickboxing from 5:30 to 6:30, and then from 6:30 to 7:30 I'll do kickboxing classes where we'll do drills. We'll either hold pads if it's a Thursday, or we will do like some sparring and stuff of that nature. And then Wednesday and Thursday is just a repeat of Monday and Tuesday. And on Wednesday and Monday, actually at 5:30, I help with the kids class, the jiu-jitsu kids class. Not Monday though, actually. Wednesday I help with the jiu-jitsu kids class. Monday I have a lab at WSU for class. Yeah. And then Fridays is usually my one day of like I don't do anything except for the morning MMA class with Chris Harris. I'll do the morning MMA class with Chris Harris because it's mainly just technique. I'm not like going super crazy. Sometimes we'll go some live goes or Like we'll do some live rounds just to kind of so he can see what I can work on or what someone else can work on, or just see if we're implementing the right kinds of techniques. But it's nothing hard. So Friday's usually my day of like, just like I don't have anything, I'm cooling, because it's the day before, like it's like the calm before the storm. Because Saturday is our hard sparring days where it's a brutal MMA class that Cody teaches, and it's mainly just like work. We'll do like farmers carries or with like people, like picking people up, and, like doing like just working and like working wrestling, a lot of wrestling and mixing striking and wrestling together to get a takedown off of your strikes, stuff of that nature. But it's very, very tiring and very taxing. And then after that, we have our hard sparring, which is open sparring. So anybody can come to the open sparring. You just have to sign a waiver, so you can't sue the gym.
All right.
But so we have people from like JMTK would come, some people from Valor would come, and then we'll all spar. And it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And then Sundays, I'll have a little bit of drilling with my teammate Terrell. We'll go to the gym and we'll just do drills that like things that we want to work on.
Put some extra work in.
Yeah, some extra. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit about like the training like schedule that I'm on now. Like in the summer it was a little bit more, but now that we have classes and more work, kind of find the right balance.
Yeah. Do you think that'll change if you decide to take a fight this school year?
Oh yeah, I already have a fight.
You already have a fight?
Yeah, November 4th. In Kansas City.
All right, if this podcast comes out before that, we'll see. But okay, that's awesome. Up in Kansas City?
Yeah, up in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does then the training camp for that look different than what you're doing now?
It really is just probably just being
up everything.
just amping up a little bit more, just making sure that I'm working on things that I want to like work on specifically to fight. I don't really have like game plans for my fights. I kind of just want to make sure that my level is like so high that the other guy can't compare, because I'm working like harder than they are. I'm more consistent than they are in my mind. Obviously they could be, but I doubt it in my mind. Like I doubt it. But like from now to like the training camp, it's really just modifying the intensity here and there, making sure, because I can't really go balls, like I can't sacrifice dropping grades and stuff like that and making my grades plummet for a fight. So I even told like Rudd like I'll have one fight every semester. I won't like go more than that. Like this summer I did 2, but I'll do 1 fight every semester if I can, like if they can find me a fight. But there's really not much that's gonna actually change in my training schedule. It's just making sure that I'm consistent, like continuously doing it. And I've been consistent since my fight in April. I've been every single day. Like I don't think I've had like days, like Fridays where like I don't really go into the gym as much and stuff like that, but it's really just been every single day. Like sometimes I get tired of seeing the paint on the walls in that place.
Yeah, okay. No, that's cool. I forgot what I was gonna ask. That's not really a good trait for a person doing an interview, but shoot. It was okay, so working in keeping up your grades, making sure you're on top of that. And what kind of future do you see with your work, your school, and your fighting? What do you see for the future after college?
So I'm about to graduate in the spring of next year. So I've really been kind of thinking about it. I've been kind of like figuring out what I want to do, and I definitely want to pursue pro fighting 100%. Like that's the one thing I want to do. Yeah. There's one thing my mom, she would always tell me is like, or she's like my stepmom, like, but she would always tell me that like, because I used to work at Sonic with her. She got me onto Sonic when I was like 16. So I was able to work at Sonic with her, and she was a manager there. And I worked at Sonic until I was 18, and I was ready to like go to college. Like when I got the rut and I was ready to go to college, like I had the move-in date, and like I was about to leave Sonic, and she told me that like, you have all your life like to work, but you don't have all your life to be a college kid. You don't have all your life to be 18, 20, 19, stuff of that nature. So like, don't worry about like be feeling bad for leaving and stuff like that. And I kind of just took that and like I used that in my mindset to like go into pro fighting. Like I'm not gonna have all this time to be young and in my prime and like getting better and like have a body to be able to like pursue fighting. And so like I'm going to pursue it. Like I don't want to like be like 30 and be like, oh man, I wish I could have. No, I want to do it now, because like Bernie said, like I'll always be able to go back and I'll always be able to get a job. I'll always be able to work. but I won't always be able to be a UFC champ,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So.
And with that, what's kind of the path you see with that professional career? Like, what do you see? I mean, because right now you're getting your amateur fights in, and obviously just continuing to work, seeing what opportunities lie ahead of you. What is but is there an opportunity path that you see you have a vision for?
Like clearly?
Yeah.
Not really, because there's like so many different ways to get like into that kind of like spotlight, especially to like the UFC. There's like multiple like ways. There's like a tree of ways like to get in. Like, you could get in by having like fighting on a short notice like fight. Like if they need somebody your weight and like somebody from there or like dropped out and they need you in, like that's like a straight shot in. But I think how I'm thinking about it is mainly just starting to go pro. Like I get to choose when I want to go pro. So like when I start to go pro, just making sure that I got all the experience I needed to as an amateur. Like I don't want to rush into like being a pro and then get my butt kicked by somebody that, took the time to actually make sure that they wanted that they were ready to go pro. I don't want to like rush to go pro like right after college. I'm going to make sure that I feel like I'm ready. I'm going to make sure my coaches feel like I'm ready. And then going pro, it's mainly just about taking fights, really. It's mainly just about building a record, because the amateur record doesn't really matter. Like it matters in the moment, but like once you go pro, it's like it doesn't matter. It's kind of like your GPA from like high school to like college. It doesn't really matter.
That's what I said, Mom.
But so just taking fights and making sure that I'm consistent in the gym, which I know I will be, and making sure that I'm being smart, not getting injured because I want to have an ego contest with somebody else in the gym. Like I see that happen a lot, is like people will get injured because like, they're training with somebody and they have like a little like ego contest and then they get injured and they're out for like 3 months. I make sure that I'm smart with how I train. I train with like training partners that I know are either my weight especially. I'm not gonna go hard with AD.
I was gonna say the video otherwise.
Or I'll make sure I go with somebody that I'm comfortable with going with. Obviously, I'm still gonna go with people that are newer, that are more experienced and stuff like that. But I know that I'm gonna take it slow. Like I know how to control myself basically. Yeah. So just being smart with that. So I'm always healthy to be able to take a fight if there is a short notice fight, so that I'm able to take a fight if they find me a fight. So in my mind, it's mainly from after college, graduating, it's just about taking fights and making sure that I build like a good resume, making sure that I'm ready.
Yeah. While keeping your college resume too.
Yeah.
Because you will be probably, I'm assuming, working as well.
Yeah.
After college. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Where do you see that? Where do you see
I'm
yourself
not too
in 5
sure.
years?
That age-old question. I'm not too sure. I'm working at NIR right now, and I really love it there. But I also don't like being super complacent, especially in a place where you're supposed to be exploring. But I also don't want to be switching internships every month, every other month. Like I want to make sure that I'm kind of like in the middle. So I've been at NIR for about a year now, so I've been getting pretty comfortable there. So there is full-time positions at NIR, and I would like to look into those. But I've been working with like Troy at Rudd and stuff like that, working on like resume building to venture out into different kinds of like Coke, different kinds of companies that are looking for college graduates in the computer engineering field and stuff of that nature. So really just anything that's in Wichita that is going to really help me be able to apply my college engineering degree that I'm going to get.
And also kind of support you as well.
Yeah, definitely support.
Would there be an ideal like computer science paired MMA career job? Would there be an ideal one?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm definitely not going to like not stop working and like pursue like fighting full time.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't be smart.
Well, are you all in or not?
Yeah.
Quit your job. College. No.
But I definitely, there's definitely going to be that exact like mix where I'm going to have my computer science degree and I'm going to be able to use that in the occupation that I'm going to have, but I'm also going to be a fighter. And it has to be a place that is going to know that. Like it's going to know that like I'm pursuing this fighting thing. I'm definitely going to like work for you, but like, I'm pursuing this fighting thing. Like it's either that like or nothing. I'll find somewhere else to go. They have to like be understanding of that. Like that's my boundary. That's gonna be my boundary going forward. Like when I'm applying to different jobs and stuff like that, and I'll let that be known in every interview that I do. Like they're like, oh, like you fight? Oh shoot.
I feel like most people are gonna find that super awesome and want to support that.
Yeah, I actually worked at the Smart Factory, and when I interviewed for them, I told them that I fight, and they told me like, they were like, oh, like, you're not gonna come in with like a black eye or anything, right? Yeah, and I was like,
No
I don't think
promises.
so. And they're like, okay, because like that's definitely like you know, you're gonna be in front of a lot of our clients and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, but yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's gonna be super cool to see how that progresses.
Yeah.
But
And I think a cool way that people can keep up with that, and you were kind of talking about it a little bit earlier when Austin brought it up, but with about branding and stuff like that, because you have a YouTube page, correct, that you like vlog with like your fights and stuff like that. You want to talk about that real quick?
So I have a YouTube channel. It's my name, H3RO Burns, and so I really post a lot of fight related stuff. I post like some stuff about like comic books and superheroes because I like superheroes. Like, that's why I'm the hero. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yes, sir.
So
On
I post,
brand.
Yeah, on brand. So like I post a lot about like what it's like to be a fighter, the kind of like the behind the curtains kind of thing, because you really only see them step into the cage and then step out of the cage. You don't see all the work that gets put in behind that one night that you see them fight. And so that's kind of what my YouTube is about.
Yeah. How do you see that growing as well?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely scale.
Yeah,
Especially if I go like when I go pro, like it'll definitely scale like a lot bigger, a lot more people like will have their eyes on it and stuff like that. And the more that I fight, especially in different cities and stuff like that, the more people will be like, oh, like who's that guy? Like, oh, like, like oh, he has a YouTube. Oh, dang, like, you know, stuff like that. And they'll be able to see like the insides of like what it means to be a fighter.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And maybe a future podcast as well.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe. Who knows?
I see a lot of those UFC guys bringing in
making
podcasts, bringing in video. They do it all, man. So, yeah, and I know you're a fan of one of those guys, and I don't know if you want to talk about maybe who's your hero in UFC or not.
Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aljamain Sterling. He's one of my favorite fighters, and like, bro, like literally when he lost, everybody blew up my phone. Like I posted on Facebook. I said, okay, for everybody texting me, come meet me at 316. Like we can handle this. Like it was crazy. They texted me and they were like, I told you.
I told you he was gonna lose.
I was in a group chat and they added me like 10 times, and I was like, dang, I mourn in peace. I love you, Aljo.
Hey, he'll be back though. He'll be back though for sure. Maybe at the next weight class or not. I don't know.
Maybe.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a tough cut to 35.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know about that. Yeah. That's insane, man. Well, yeah. Well, random question, but what's the 3 for in the hero?
316, like the area code, and also 316, the gym.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of wondered that for a while. He didn't mean to put the E
threw it in.
backwards.
Yeah. He's not looking very good for the run.
This guy's on scholarship. Seriously, bro?
Yeah.
Kind of dyslexia. Oh man. No, okay, that's super cool. All right. Well, yeah. What kind of parting advice would you give to our audience? On anything, you know, I was gonna go for a specific sector there, but
I'd say like anybody that's maybe interested in the sport, maybe learning more about it, maybe participating in it or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd just say, like, it sounds cliche, but consistency for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's 100%. Like the amount of times that I've like showed up and gotten beat up, and then like I'll show up again and I'll maybe get beat up again, but then I'll show up again and I'll do a little bit better. I'll still get beat up. I'll get beat up a little less, but I'll do better.
Yeah.
And like, I've seen it like happen with me, and I've seen it happen with like other fighters. There's kids in there that are more consistent than a lot of the fighters that are in there, you know, stuff like that. And it's like that consistency, I can see the growth in them that I can't see in other fighters because they're there all the time. They might, like Cody was saying, like you don't have to go 100% all the time, but just being there, being in that environment, being consistent with it. I feel like that's definitely some advice that I can give. It's like, and I can attest to it because it's helped me be able to like win some of my fights. It's helped me be able to actually like have those aha moments in MMA, like where I'm like, oh, that's why you do this. And like, because I've been doing this for so long, but I got taught this a different way because I was consistent in actually applying that. So I would say consistency, which sounds very cliche, but
no, dude.
yeah.
Cliche is true.
Yeah, the basic. Yeah,
it's cliche.
That's what they say in
for a
fighting.
reason.
The basics are better than all the flashy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's true.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you for more information, you want to drop all your social media handles and everything like that, what you're on.
My Instagram is the Hero MMA with the 3 as the
three,
E.
with the 3 in there. Yeah.
And then my Facebook is my name, H3RO Burns, and then YouTube, H3RO Burns. I mean, you can't really contact me on YouTube, but yeah. And then that's where you can get a hold of me. So.
Dude, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much
coming
for
on.
having me. I
I'm
really
really
appreciate
excited
it.
that we got
Yeah.
to help you promote your stuff, and
I'm
can't wait
excited
for the
to
fight.
be here and support you guys with you guys' podcast because
Me
you
too,
guys
bro.
said you guys
Yeah,
want
yeah.
the turtleneck table talk. I love
Yeah.
it. I love
That's
it.
right, dude. I just
Yeah.
had an idea that we can make like a choke resistant turtleneck. That's so, that came out. I just needed to get it out there, and now
Oh
people know
my
about it.
goodness.
Yeah.
Merch dropping soon. Choke resistant turtlenecks.
But yeah, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for having
coming
me.
out and everything like that. Just so you know, and didn't say it before, but you were Austin's #1 choice
I was.
for
Thank you.
athletes
you
and
were.
whatnot, and completely see why you were, because your dedication and everything like that is something that's very inspiring, and we're super excited to see what the future holds for you, and can't wait to, when you have local fights, we coming out and supporting you and
yeah.
everything like that. So really excited to see what happens with you. So make sure and follow him on his different social media. But once again, we are Turtleneck Table Talk. Don't forget to obviously follow us as well, subscribe and whatnot.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning into this episode.